friends, and welcome back to Ghouls Night In, the spooky chat show with your best ghoul friends. I'm Penny Snark.
And I'm Midge Munster.
And we recently talked about Jaws, and today I want to talk about another iconic film by a highly recognized creator in the horror genre and beyond. One might even call him the master of suspense.
Oh.
We're talking about Psycho today.
Oh my gosh, how funny. I was just on a whole thing about this yesterday on the phone with my parents.
I love it. Oh my God, perfect timing. Oh my gosh. Obviously we have talked about this a bit on the pod before, just because it is such a looming film, a classic, even 65 years after it was released. I started seeing people talking about Psycho on my feed, and I was like, oh, is it because it's Halloween? But it turns out it's because of a Ryan Murphy show.
Yeah.
I go ahead.
Well, I'm sure you're going to talk about this, but also I feel like just the prevalence of Oz Perkins the last few years has brought this back into the sphere. So yeah,
very true.
We're back, baby.
We're so back, baby. I will say, I am not a Ryan Murphy fan.
This is a safe space for that kind of rhetoric.
And I have not heard good things about this show, so we're not really going to talk about that. But I thought some of our listeners would appreciate hearing about the film and its legacy. So this will contain spoilers for Psycho.
For a 50-year-old film.
Sorry, guys. It is an old movie. We're going to talk about it. I did some research. I'll just shout out some articles I read. Psycho at 60, Secrets from the Psycho Shower, and How Psycho Changed Janet Leigh Forever.
Amazing.
So there you go. Yeah, it was really interesting researching this episode, just because Psycho is, it's considered now one of the greatest films of all time, huge piece of the American film canon, and there's a lot of really deep mythology surrounding it. So there's a lot of fun facts. There's also a lot of kind of established lore and contradicting interviews from over the years. So we found some twists and turns along the way. I did my best to kind of sort out things that are definitely true from things that people say, but I could not really find a source for.
Sure.
But we shall see. We'll share some of this stuff. Midge, obviously you are a fan. When did you first see Psycho?
Well, let me tell you, Penny.
Please do. Please tell me.
This is why I was talking about this with my folks yesterday. This is my villain origin story. This is Psycho is what made me a scared child.
Oh man.
So one of my earliest horror related memories is being probably, I don't know, I want to say maybe 6 years old, somewhere in that very early stages, but I remember it, part of the life. And it was around Halloween time. We only had one TV in the house. It was in the living room, and we had it on during the day. Probably, earlier in the day. I want to say probably 3, 4 p.m. kind of thing. We had watched something, my mom and I, the Halloween, they're running Halloween movie marathon kind of thing.
Totally.
Left the TV on, walked away. Mom's in the kitchen doing dishes or cooking dinner or something. I come into the living room and Psycho is playing.
Uh-oh.
And it is the shower scene.
Oh, man.
And I was terrified of it.
Yeah.
And from that point forward, for the next 10 years of my life, I, especially when I was little, I would have my mom, if I got up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, I would, wake my mom up to go in the bathroom with me, and we would check behind the shower curtain.
Oh, yeah.
Became this obsession that I was someone is in the shower.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
So, which is so funny now because I rewatched Psycho, I want to say maybe 2 years ago. Hadn't seen it in a really long time. And, by today's standards.
Yeah.
Not scary. I mean, it's still very effective, but not
Yes,
not
but definitely
horrifying or
not
anything.
not we'll talk a little bit later on about kind of the reactions at the time.
Sure. But yeah, definitely affected me this and the Thriller music video are my original like fear points.
That's fair. That's very fair. Yeah, I actually saw Psycho for the first time in a psychology class.
Oh, that's cool.
In high school, yeah. Yeah, and so like I was familiar with like the obvious. We'll also talk about this as we go on, but like obviously the shower scene is one of the most parodied, most referenced scenes of cinema. So like I was kind of vaguely familiar with it, but I actually like did not know like the full story. So I was like being gooped and gagged along with everybody else while I was watching it, which was a pretty cool experience. But yeah, let's go back because some of you may or may not know that Psycho has what? A Wisconsin connection.
Does it? I did not know this.
It sure does.
Oh, well, actually, okay. Yeah.
A different Wisconsin.
Oh, a different. Okay.
Yes, because before this was Alfred Hitchcock's 47th film, it was a novel written by Robert Bloch. And much like myself, Robert was born in Illinois but moved to Milwaukee as a child.
Hell yeah.
So
also, did you say Alfred Hitchcock's 47th film?
Yup.
Jeez Louise.
Yup.
He was cranking them out, brother.
He truly was. He truly was.
Dang, I did not know that. That's wild.
Yeah. So I did shout out to the Appleton Post-Crescent, which wrote an article called 60 Years Ago, Norman Bates and Psycho Were Born in Small Town, Wisconsin.
Wow.
Which talked a bit about how Bloch wrote Psycho while living in Weyauwega, Wisconsin, which is in kind of central.
That's the most Wisconsin town name I've ever heard.
Truly.
Weyauwega.
Yep.
Oh, you going up to Weyauwega this week?
Yes, exactly that. And what is part of the Ryan Murphy show and has kind of been widely quoted was that Norman Bates was based on Ed Gein.
Ed Gein. That's what I thought you were going for.
Yes. Yeah. I will say, like, this is emphasized by the Wisconsin connection because Plainfield, where Gein lived and committed his crimes, is only 35 minutes away from Weyauwega. And so he was arrested in 1957, and the novel Psycho comes out in 1959. So obviously you can't prove what a person did or did not think about at the time.
Sure.
But what Bloch has stated in his autobiography was that he heard about the arrest in the newspapers, and just like the idea of like a man kind of like living in a small town and no one suspects that he's like secretly doing horrible things.
Psycho, you might say.
Exactly. Was what inspired him. So he wasn't, according to him, he was not like familiar with the details of the case, and it wasn't until later on when he was asked to actually like write something about Ed Gein that he realized how many parallels kind of could be drawn between him and the Norman Bates character. So you can believe that or not. It definitely wasn't like the same news environment that we have today.
I was gonna
so
say,
like it's not like he was getting like blasted with details about this.
It's so interesting to think about like how now if something like, you know, if Ed Gein happened right now, like it would be every national, like international news. And but in 57, like 2 towns over, you're not hearing about that.
Yeah, like you're hearing like, oh, something crazy happened over there, but like unless you're like, oh, I really got to know all the dirty details myself, like you may not hear all of like the more gruesome facts. So who knows? It's definitely, I wouldn't say like a 1-to-1, and I am not obviously the Ed Gein story is one that I am familiar with, but is not the normal type of thing we talk about on this podcast, so we're not going to go deep into that. But there's parallels, but they're also very different. So I've always kind of been like,
so much misinformation in the Ed Gein case as well.
Exactly.
So that it's hard to even draw parallels when so much of that has been what's the word, like exaggerated to a point where
Yes,
it's not even
yes.
factual.
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Alfred Hitchcock was made aware of this novel by his longtime assistant and was immediately like, hell yeah, I'm going to make this. And I don't know whether this is true or not, but according to popular legend, he instructed his assistant to then go buy like every copy of the novel she could find because he didn't want anybody else to know what happens in the book. I think that is a little bit of like cinema mythology because
Slay.
obviously like this book was like
Widely published
nationwide, so what's that gonna do?
Like, okay, for the next year and 52 days, you must be driving all over the country and buy every
travel across the country.
copy
Yes.
of Psycho you see.
But yes, and as we remarked on, unlike our sweet baby fawn Steven Spielberg doing Jaws, this was Hitchcock's 47th movie. He was very well established as a director. He was known for doing these cool mysteries with big stars, and this was seen as a major departure for him. The studio did not want him to make it. They were like, this is way too gruesome. No one wants to see this. It was apparently specifically like in a note from the studio that they were like, the shower scene makes this like entirely unfilmable. Like you can't make this movie because we're still under the Hays Code.
I was going to say Hays Code.
Time.
Yeah.
Yep. So you're not allowed to show naked people, all sorts of stuff. And so they were like, we're not going to pay you to make this movie. And he was like, what if I pay for this movie? Because I really want to make it.
Because I made 47 before this. So I have the money to.
Yes. And he actually used a bunch of his crew from the Alfred Hitchcock Presents TV show.
Nice.
With the goal of like shooting it very quickly, very efficiently. And obviously it was filmed in black and white, which kind of infamously was because Hitchcock thought it was too gory to shoot it in color. But of course, it was also cheaper to shoot it in black and white.
Yeah, also, and more importantly.
But yes, this movie was very shocking at the time. Like, I assume if you're listening to this, you've probably seen it. I will say right now that if you have not seen it and you're kind of like, well, I know the story, you should really watch it. Just because like Hitchcock is so known for like that incredible cinematography and like
it really does
cool
hold
camera
up.
storytelling. It does.
It holds up as
It
great
holds up.
filmmaking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it is just kind of funny because we start with this hotel room scene showing an unmarried couple who had clearly just been doing it, and this was seen as like, oh my god, so scandalous. And we open with Marion Crane, played by Janet Leigh, who we get to know very closely through the start of the movie, and makes it all the more shocking that she is killed only a third of the way through.
The Drew Barrymore of it all.
Exactly. Yeah, so famously, Hitchcock insisted that no one be admitted to the movie theater after the film had started, which was like unheard of at the time. Still kind of, like, I mean, obviously today, like if you show up late for a movie, they still let you in.
Right.
And part of this was like a marketing push, obviously, for being like, oh my god, it's so shocking, like all these extra rules and stuff. But he did also feel that like audiences wouldn't get the full experience if they didn't forge this connection with Marion early on to then be shocked by the fact that she dies. Which was also crazy. Like I said, I watched this, like I knew about the shower scene, but I just was kind of like, oh, well, obviously that's at the end of the movie.
Oh yeah, nope.
Because she's the main character, and so I did get to have like the full 1960 audience experience of being like, wait, what?
Me too, but I was 6, so
Yes. And as she commits a crime, she flees into the night and happens upon the Bates Motel, where we meet Norman. Which, what a vibe. I have actually read the book Psycho.
Oh, cool.
And it's pretty true to the movie, but like in the book, Norman Bates, I would say, is a much more expected kind of version of this character. He's like described as like a dumpy, balding guy. And also in the book, he's an alcoholic. So it's like he's blacking out. And this is when he's like kind of switching stuff. And apparently Hitchcock, as they were like rewriting the script, was immediately like, why don't we rewrite this so Tony Perkins can do it? And was like, had him in mind the whole time. And famously, Hitchcock did not get along with actors and didn't have a good opinion of them. But it does, at least from the things that are reported, it sounds like things were kind of different on the Psycho shoot. That it was partially because probably they were kind of filming it in this more like kind of run and gun sort of way. And Perkins was talked about how he was given a lot of freedom to kind of improvise and create this character.
That's what I'm like familiar with from this filming process, is his interviews saying he kind of, was given a lot of like creative liberty.
Yeah, I did like, the one description I saw was like, actors were encouraged to improvise as long as it did not require a changing camera setup.
Sure. Yeah.
Which I'm like, hey, I get it. So he was the one who introduced Norman like eating candy throughout it. And apparently they just gave him money and were like, go buy clothes that Norman would wear, and kind of encouraged him to also pick, it was the type of clothes that he personally would wear. So he kind of created this like very clean-cut, preppy figure that really, I think, emphasizes the dichotomy between, how he appears and some of the actions that he takes.
Well, and for those who may not know, like Anthony Perkins before this film was like kind of a Hollywood it boy. Like he was
like a heartthrob.
He's like a sexy man.
Yes.
And was kind of
fair, because he is extremely handsome.
Oh, he's extremely.
So.
Yeah.
There you go.
But he was playing more classic like Hollywood heartthrobs before this, so this was a real like venture outside of his norm to do his Norman.
But we gotta talk more about the shower scene. There is a lot of lore here. There's a whole documentary that's just about the shower scene, which is pretty wild. One of the weirder facts that I saw were people saying that shooting was delayed because Janet Leigh's period, which like could be true, but just feels like kind of a weird thing to say. So I'm sort of like,
Well, and also like, why would,
Exactly. Well, so
like
this
as
is
if
also
she was just ass naked in the shower.
Yeah, I was gonna say like she obviously was not actually fully naked.
No.
I will say like this was 1960, so they did not have like the same kind of menstrual products that are available to us today. And part of this is that from the beginning, she and Hitchcock both claimed that she shot the entire scene herself. And this was not true. She did have a body double in this scene, who is named Marley Renfro, who had worked as a Playboy bunny, which is delightful. Have you heard about this like side story?
I don't think so.
Because, okay, this apparently just came out in like 2001. Someone was researching this. So for a long time, people, there was a man who committed murders, and people were like, oh, and one of the women who was murdered was the double for the shower scene for Psycho. And then it turns out that is not actually true, because people were confused, and the woman who was murdered was the stand-in for Janet Leigh for like other filming purposes. You know how they have like someone come and stand there while they're like doing lighting and shit. So the guy who was researching this was like interviewing that woman's like granddaughter, and she was like, yeah, I don't know if like this seems weird because I don't think my grandma would have done like nude stuff for Psycho. And it turned out she did not. This was someone totally different. Marley is still alive. And so that was like a weird like side tangent that I went on in that. But in contrast to like the quick filming of kind of the rest of the film, this scene took a week to shoot. There were over 70 camera setups, which like once again, having filmed something with you, Midge, I'm like, 70? Jesus Christ.
Well, and you might be getting ready to talk about this. I know they had to build like a specific shower head thing.
Yes, they did.
To get the overhead shot of the shower, or well, the shower overhead, because like they basically built a shower head that would spray out around the camera lens so the lens wouldn't get wet, so they could get that cool top-down shot of the water spraying.
Yes. Yeah, there was like just a lot of incredibly creative filmmaking going in here, and obviously like the editing too of it. Famously, like censors claimed that they saw like Janet Leigh's nipple in it, where she was like, obviously, I was never actually topless, so that is not possible. But because it is, like, cut so well, like, you get the impression that you have seen a nude body when that is not actually true. It was 1960. You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
And also, classic facts everyone should know, the blood was actually chocolate syrup. And the stabbing sound was created by stabbing into a melon in the ADR. It was a common myth also that the water was cold in the shower. But Janet Leigh has said that is not true, that it was warm water, and everyone was very nice to her while they were filming it. And also, I did see somewhere else that mentioned, because obviously after she is killed, we see like a very impactful shot of her corpse on the ground. And there were several sources that said that she was wearing like eye dilation contacts, but this is actually not true. They considered that, I guess, but at the time, like 1960, they did not have like the same kind of quality of like special effects contact lenses. That we have, and she stated that they were told that she would need to like wear them over 6 weeks to like get her eyes accustomed to wearing them, and they were obviously like, that's not gonna happen, so it is just her holding her eyes open. So there you go. And yeah, audiences at the time were definitely like, well, she's gonna come back at some point, right? Which, same. On my first watch, I was like, oh, well, like, is she not actually dead? Is she coming back? And especially because, like, I also knew that, like, obviously I knew there was some kind of twist in it, but I didn't know exactly what it was. So I was like, oh, is, like, the twist gonna be that she did, like, something? But no, she is dead. No, I'm sorry. Sorry to you, Marion.
R.I.P.
And yes, Psycho is obviously considered to be the grandfather of slasher movies, but is also recognized as like the first psychoanalytical thriller. Hitchcock was very fascinated by the works of Freud, which play into this film in both, I would say, obvious and not so obvious ways to the general public. I watched a really interesting video essay called Understanding Psycho, the Uncanny, which really delves into Freud's theory of the uncanny, of this idea of like the fear but also kind of twisted desire for like a dark mirror of yourself, something that is like you but not like you. Like we've talked about like Uncanny Valley.
Right.
And really talked in a way that I haven't seen a lot before about the ways that Norman is Marion's dark mirror in this film and how that's kind of portrayed in the cinematography. There are a lot of interesting parallels, which I thought was really interesting to go beyond the obvious Oedipus complex theming here. Because, of course, the thing most people know and think about of this movie is Mother. Mother. Apparently Hitchcock was always hiding new versions of the Mother corpse prop in Janet Leigh's dressing room closet. But it sounds like she thought it was funny. So at least publicly she was like, haha, it's funny. So like we said again, it sounds like Hitchcock kind of had a better working relationship with his actors on this film than some previous. But as I kind of alluded to at the beginning, when this movie came out, critics did not like it.
Yeah.
They thought that it was lurid, that it was very gruesome. Hitchcock did not allow critics to see it in advance, which always makes them mad. So that probably did not help. There's a lot of criticism of like the melodrama of the film, and like we said, this was a departure for Hitchcock. A lot of critics were basically just like, boo, make North by Northwest again. Like, we don't like it. But it was hugely popular at the box office. It was the second highest grossing film of the year behind Spartacus. And ended up being the most commercially successful film of Hitchcock's career. It was nominated for some Academy Awards, notably not Best Picture. It did not win anything. Janet Leigh did win a Best Supporting Actress Golden Globe for the film. And I would say like Jaws, Psycho is just a movie that it's so hard to talk about its legacy because it's so influential. It kind of just like goes without saying.
Yeah, ubiquitous in the horror. Yeah.
Yeah. It is credited / blamed for bringing gore to movies. Like, this was like the first one that was, which is funny to say today because like this movie is not gory.
No.
At all, especially by modern audiences, but people were like, what? Obviously, the shower scene and the mother reveal are just like constantly referenced and parodied. Janet Leigh apparently said that Hitchcock said he could never work with her again because like her turn as Marion was so impactful that he just like felt like he couldn't bring her back for any movies, which is a compliment and also maybe not so great,
right,
from her perspective, but that's fine. I mean, she has also said that she but she tried not to take showers after this, that like it really made her like viscerally aware of how defenseless you are when you're in the shower, and said that like she always takes baths, and if she does take a shower, she leaves the curtain and the bathroom door open so that you would know.
There's no barrier to entry for the killer. You won't even hear them coming.
You're gonna see them. You're gonna be like, "Hey, get out of here!"
I did.
Don't you try and kill me in this shower.
I almost said this is Psycho. It is. When I was in college,
this is so Psycho.
When I was in college, I was so scared because still this movie had such an effect on me when I was so young. So I literally kept a like knife in the bathroom drawer of my vanity. So if I was showering, I could like easily reach out and get a knife if someone came in, because I was like, I had never really lived in a shared space like that, and I was so convinced that someone was gonna walk in while I was showering. Thanks, Hitchcock.
We were ready. Thanks, Hitchcock. Thanks so much. And as you alluded to earlier, and we talked about this a bit when we were talking about the Queer for Fear documentary, but this film also very much changed the course of Anthony Perkins' career, arguably for the worse. So, like Midge said, like he was definitely playing a lot of like heartthrob roles before this, and felt very much typecast into villain roles, which was of course complicated by the fact that he was struggling with the perception of himself as a queer person in a time that this was not acceptable, and this role has a lot of queerness in it. It actually reminds me a lot of like Silence of the Lambs.
Yes.
Because like the movie explicitly is like, hey, this guy isn't queer. It's something more fucked up. But audiences go away going, yeah, queer is scary, huh? Because
it's worse than that.
It's worse than that. Because like in the film, like at the very end, they're like, what's this guy, some kind of transvestite? And the psychiatrist is like, oh no, like, he's not a transvestite. He's got a full, whole altered personality, blah, blah, blah. But people obviously went away being like, this dude wears a dress and that's fucked up.
Yeah. But also like like, yes, we had that line, but this is also coming from the man who gave us Rope. So there are there are
Yes.
like definitive homosexual undertones to this movie.
Oh yes, agreed. And
Yeah.
but obviously, it did have a major impact. It's emblematic of like the real life struggles that he was having, just as someone who was perhaps gay in a very difficult time and role. Obviously being in Hollywood. And he did say that he would still do Psycho if he had the chance to do it over again. So hopefully there was some, positive association there. But yeah, like as Midge said, obviously his son, Oz Perkins, is now very much part of our horror milieu doing directing. And he does actually speak in the Queer for Fear documentary about his dad's experience. So once again, recommend watching that because it's great.
Yes. Yeah.
To kind of get more in there. But yeah, so he ended up coming back for like the very bad Psycho sequels,
Yes.
presumably because he did not have other kind of work options in Hollywood. So that is a bummer. Yeah, the Psycho sequels I did not even put in this notes because I was like, this isn't worth talking about. I did it because the version of the novel that I read was actually like a twofer fat book that had Psycho and the follow-up to Psycho in it. And I did read that one also and was like, this is much worse, even in book form.
It's something worse.
It's something worse. But yeah, it is such a, like we said, like it is a movie that really holds up. Like it's from 1960, and even if I definitely kind of get into that zone sometimes where I'm like, well, if I know the twist, like, is it worth watching? And Psycho is like a 100% yes. Like, it's just a really good film, so you should watch it.
Yeah, I've been really back into like, I've been in a phase of watching 50s and 60s horror movies and just, really in awe of like filmmaking at that time and how well it's still like, you watch it and you're like, this, like, obviously, yes, there are things that it feels dated in some respects, but like in a lot of these movies, I think I told you maybe this on another episode, but I rewatched Wolfman recently and I was like, this could be made today. Like as far as the quality of filmmaking, like it's really well made. And I feel like, Psycho is just some of the best, like you said, cinematography, acting, like it's just good, man. There's a reason it's a classic.
It's true. And as horror movies love to reference each other, another fun fact to pull out at parties is, of course, Marion's boyfriend in this film, who becomes a larger character in the later act, trying to figure out what happened to her, is Sam Loomis, who is referenced both in the film Halloween, which also features
Janet Leigh's daughter,
Jamie Lee Curtis, as well as, of course, our in Scream. We've got
another Loomis
running around. So yeah, I think that's also true, like, of watching these like 1950s horror movies, is like, it's interesting to see how many things that like are horror tropes that we're familiar with were like immediately established and that we still are referencing them today in very real ways. So that is my little intro to Psycho. Like I said, there's a lot of information about this movie, and there are a lot of ways that you could dive really deep into it. So I wanted to give kind of a smattering of good info and fun things to think about. And I highly recommend that you watch it if you haven't, or rewatch it if you watched it a long time ago. Cool. Well, thank you all for joining us today. I would love to hear your thoughts about Psycho. When did you first see it? Did it scar you
Did it ruin
in your
your
shower
life?
experience for the rest of your life? Let us know. You can do so on our Instagram at Ghouls Night In Pod or on our Discord server, which is linked in the episode as well as on our Instagram, where you can hang out and chit chat with other ghouls about anything spooky, episodes, kind of whatever you got going on. And we also love to hear from you in the form of reviews.
Yes.
Because that's a great way to let the world know that you like the show. Do we have a fresh, hot review today, Midge?
We do. We have a great one today.
Ooh.
This is from Snickers87, and it's a 5-star review titled "A Tumrific Treat."
Ooh.
I stumbled upon this gem of a podcast 3 years ago while looking for spooky season content. Since then, Penny and Midge's singular delivery of thrills, laughs, and intriguing information have lifted me into a spooky oasis. Now, mundane moments of commute or cleaning are spent feeling like one of the ghouls, and I learn something new every time. Thank you both so much for being a voice for all the weird and wonderful things out there in the world and within the creepy, cobwebby corners of our minds. Keep up the wonderful work. Get ready for this, Penny. 50 stars apiece.
Whoa. Oh my God. What am I even going to do with 50 stars? All to myself?
My
Oh my gosh.
My star bank is full for the next 2 weeks.
Heck yeah. I'm gonna win Mario Party with all these stars.
Well, thank you very much, and I will be adding the word tumrific to my
Yes.
my
I love
vocabulary immediately.
Fabulous. Awesome. Well, thank you again for tuning in. I already told you where you could find the pod, but if you are looking for me, you can find me at Penny Snark.
And you can find me all over the web at Midge Munster.
And until next time, good.